ISGF, with support from Ministry of Power, presents 5th edition of Distribution Utility Meet 2021 powered by Amazon Web Services. DUM 2021 is hosted by 6 DISCOMs of India. DUM is known for capturing best practices followed by various distribution utilities. It allows discussing on the future technologies and various challenges across utilities. The distribution utilities can collaborate to learn from each other and share their experiences in the field of technology, finance, and regulations. Post COVID 19 new challenges, DISCOMs can discuss and evaluate new business models in order to adapt to the new normal and prepare for the next normal. India is currently embarking upwards on its smart grid journey, and to strengthen the utilities in this journey, ISGF started organizing Distribution Utility Meet since 2017. The first edition of Distribution Utility Meet was held in Bangalore in association with Bangalore Electricity Supply Company Limited, Karnataka. In 2018, DUM was held in Mumbai in association with Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited and Tata Power Company Limited. The 2019 Distribution Utility Meet was hosted in New Delhi by BSES Rajdhani Power Limited, BSES Yamuna Power Limited, Tata Power Company Limited, and Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited. The 2020 Distribution Utility Meet was hosted on a digital platform by BSES Rajdhani Power Limited, BSES Yamuna Power Limited, Tata Power Company Limited, and Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited. After 4 very successful editions of DUM, ISGF welcomes you all to the Distribution Utility Meet 2021 with its host utilities and partners. The themes of DUM 2021 are RDSS program by Government of India for DISCOMs, 250 million smart meter rollout, RE and EV integration with distribution grid, integration of electricity and gas distribution utilities, disruptive technologies in the distribution sector, plenary session on retail competition, framework and regulations. We welcome you all to be part of this change. DUM brings together all the DISCOMs on a common platform to accelerate the nationwide grid modernization. DUM 2021 is powered by Amazon Web Services with the support of Ministry of Power with host utilities BSES Rajdhani Power Limited, BSES Yamuna Power Limited, Tata Power Company Limited, Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited, DISCOM and CESC Limited. Thank you to all our technology innovation partners, Accenture and Genus, our exhibition partners, BSES Rajdhani Power Limited, BSES Yamuna Power Limited, Tata Power Company Limited, Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited, Amazon Web Services, DISCOM and India Smart Grid Forum, our knowledge partners, the Electric Power Research Institute, Florence School of Regulation, National Renewable Energy Laboratory, Natural Gas Society and RTI International and Ministry of Power for their support to ISGF for DUM 2021. ISGF welcomes you all to the 5th edition of Distribution Utility Meet DUM 2000.
Thank you for this, for being with us today, and we hope this power-packed session with the themes of the relevant themes which are taking the power sector with the transition today. We look forward to having all our senior experts and dignitaries and speakers speak and have very, very relevant, insightful discussions during DUM in the next today and tomorrow. So with that, we would like to invite all our dignitaries for today's inaugural session to join us for a lamp lighting ceremony. We have our chief guest for today, Mr. Vishal Kapoor, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Power. Mr. Praveer Sinha, Managing Director, Tata Power Company Limited. Mr. Kamal Sinha, Executive Director, BRPL and BYPL. Yeah, Mr. Debashish Banerjee, MD CSE Limited, Calcutta. Mr. Manu Morgal, Director, Clean Power Program, SS Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation, Mr. Ajay Kaul. He's the head states and local governments from Amazon Web Services, and President, Mr. Reggie Kumar Pillai, India Smart Grid Forum. Please join us for a lamp lighting. Light is the symbol of brightness and prosperity as sunlight expels the darkness of might. Similarly, blessings bring in our life prosperity and happiness. So with this lamp lighting, we invoke the blessing of Goddess Saraswati by kindling the lamp of knowledge and wisdom, and take the blessing for a successful edition of DAM 2021. Thank you all the dignitaries for joining us for this virtual lamp lighting. And with that, we'd like to start our inaugural session for the Distribution Utility Meet 2021. I would like to invite Mr. Reggie Kumar Pillai, President, India Smart Grid Forum, for a welcome address. Mr. Reggie Kumar Pillai is the President of India Smart Grid Forum since the inception in 2021. And he's also the chairman of Global Smart Energy Federation since November 2016. He's an internationally renowned expert with nearly 4 decades of experience in the electricity sector in diverse functions covering the entire value chain and
morning.
Across continents. Thank you. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the participants from around the globe. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to this 5th edition of Distribution Utility Meet, which we are doing on a virtual platform. We hope that we will be able to physically do this in the coming year. With the blessings of God, all of us are alive here and participating in this forum, while millions of our brethren perish in this pandemic the last 2 years. So with that, thanking God enough for keeping us alive and going forward, we will start the programs to the slide. So ISGF has completed 10 years. We were actually operational from first week of November 2011, and we are almost completed a decade. And in that decade, we have contributed richly to several of the power system development and power system transformation in the country. And some of the key points I like to repeat, although many of those listening to us being part of it, we did all that with your active support and participation. But just to go through in next few minutes, the first thing we did was the smart grid vision and roadmap for India, which we have done several stakeholder workshops, and final version we submitted to Ministry of Power early 2013 for end of 2012, early 2013, and ministry published as the Government of India roadmap in 2013. And currently there is a working group constituted by Ministry of Power for updating this and a 2030 roadmap, 2021 to 2030 smart grid roadmap being prepared, what all new technologies need to be implemented in Indian power system. So the NSGM, as you know, is there, and we have prepared the framework along with the ministry. A model smart grid regulation scheme, which almost over a dozen states have already issued. And the M2M communication roadmap, IPv6 in the power sector. Many of the new things are all being done in power sector actually on the technology side, from the IPv6 to the latest cyber security confirmation testing, etc. And this is one of the biggest achievement being the previous slide, the 6 megahertz of license fee spectrum, which is approved by all entities, and it will be notified very soon. Several other things we have done, including 2 pilot projects on peer-to-peer trading of rooftop solar energy on blockchain platform for the first time in the subcontinent, in Lucknow and in Delhi, both very successful projects which will be scaled up very soon. And we have also done the framework for the cybersecurity preparedness assessment in collaboration with the NCIIPC and VJTI. Next slide, please. So several of our white papers and reports talked about separate tariff for electricity for electric vehicles, green number plates for electric vehicles, and new buildings coming with EV charging points fitted as part of the building itself. These are all being adopted by different departments, relevant departments. Today, there are 22 states in India where there is a concessional tariff for electricity for EV charging. And two-wheelers and three-wheelers are the vehicles which can be, the battery can be swapped. And this is something which we have first advocated in the report in 2017, and in 2020 government of India approved that two-wheelers and three-wheelers can be sold. You will see a revolution of battery swapping stations for two-wheelers and three-wheelers around the country in the coming days. And several other standardization work, smart meter standards, currently the EVSC or the EV charging infrastructure standards, smart inverter standards, all this we've been working with the various stakeholders. Next, please. Some of our very important reports and study reports includes Smart Grid Handbook for Regulators and Policymakers, the implementation plan for electrification of public transportation in Calcutta, which we published in 2017, Energy Storage Systems Roadmap, which we prepared along with NITI Aayog, MOP, CEA, and MNRE in 2019. Next, please. And so, DISCOM and for PLN Indonesia, we have prepared a smart grid roadmap. And next slide. And a design of time of use tariff for electricity in Gujarat, which we published last year. And we are currently doing a pilot project on this in UP, which will go live in another 3 to 6 months time. And we also done a feasibility study for introduction of electric vehicles in Sundarbans. Next slide, please. So this is a very detailed study, first of its kind we have anyone have done anywhere. It's a detailed study on EV charging. We did modeling of 12 distribution feeders where EV charging stations are connected, and detailed analysis on the impact of EV charging on the distribution grid. And these are all available on our indiasmartgrid.org. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah, these are some of the work we have done for the SARC under support from SARC Energy Center, a roadmap for implementation of smart grid and also a high-level roadmap for electric vehicles in the SARC member states. Next, please. So these are some of our other white papers which were immensely popular, and the AMI rollout strategy and cost benefit analysis for India, which we have done in 2017, wherein first time we advocated for a AMI services agency who will be appointed by the DISCOM, who will invest and implement the appropriate smart metering system in a utility, who will be paid X rupee per meter per month for 10 years. This is the business model which has been adopted by Government of India for the 250 million smart metering program. And you will see a change in the way a smart metering system being undertaken in the country. Next, please. So this has been some of our very popular and latest work is on district cooling systems and also on electric cooking, both being promoted. Both this new dimensions will bring in flexibility for the grid as well as help flattening the load curve. Next, please. And the new revenue opportunities was presented in a plenary session last year, and many of the utilities and regulators said that some of them need to be taken up, and we can see that some of this thing will be taken up by the utilities after this pandemic. And our latest report, DG replacement with lithium-ion batteries, is another very important report and has attracted the attention of stakeholders from around the world. Next, please. So there are so many other white papers and reports which are all on ISGF portal. Next. Yeah, our indiasmartgrid.org, our smart grid knowledge portal is very popular, and we've been maintaining it for last 8 years. And our smart grid bulletin, which is goes to more than 110 countries in a digital format. And next, please. And ISUW, we have been conducting it every year from 2015, and in 2021 we had to do this on a digital platform, and we have now decided that 2022 will be a physical event in New Delhi from 2nd March to 4th March, and we hope to see all of you face to face during this program. Next. them, which we are doing it the 5th edition on a digital platform. Next, please. So we have been conducting training programs since 2013, and during the pandemic, 6 different training programs we brought onto that digital platform. These are available 24/7 for people to register, join, and certify. Next. So we have been doing bilateral workshops and international events, taking larger delegations from India to international events. So only in 2020 and 21 we could not take anyone, but 22 Distribute Tech in Texas we have already announced. We expect a large Indian delegation going with us to Washington DC and to Texas for Distribute Tech, and also many other important events like SIGRE in 2022 and other programs around the world. Next. We work with all this very uh, large organizations, diverse international organizations around the world on different programs. Next. Yeah, some of our current projects, in the interest of time, I will not go into the details of it. Some of them we are doing it, many of them what we do are for first of its kind, and very important studies and very important projects are being taken up. Grid integrated vehicle or vehicle grid integration, and some of the new focus areas which we will be working on. Next slide. uh, Electric cooking, DCS, which I mentioned. All this will be including wireless transmission of electricity with a partner from New Zealand. We will be doing pilot projects in India, and this all will be available to everybody on our platform. And we look forward to your next slide. Look forward to all your support and cooperation as in the past for all new areas which will transform the Indian grid with more and more of renewable energy. Our Honorable Prime Minister at the COP26 has announced that our target of renewable energy being enhanced to 500 gigawatt by 2030, which require a lot of new initiatives on the Indian grid so that more and more of green energy can be integrated with the grid. Uh, I have the pleasure of inviting our dignitaries today. Uh, Ministry of Power Joint Secretary Mr. Vishal Kapoor. He'll be joining in another 10 minutes time. I welcome him for this inaugural session of this distribution utility meet. And next, Dr. Pravir Sinha, who been a board member and a supporter of a constant supporter of ISGF. Very warm welcome to you to DUM 2021. And Mr. Devashish U. Banerjee, MD CSE Calcutta. Warm welcome to you, sir. And Mr. Kamal Sinha, congratulations on your promotion as Executive Director of BRPL and BYPL. You've been a very big supporter of ISGF. We have the pleasure of welcoming you to this program, DUM 2021. Very warm welcome to you, Sinha sir. And Mr. Manu Morgal, who has funded Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation, has funded through grant many of our important programs which we have listed in my previous slides. Many of the reports and studies were funded by grant from Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation. And Manu Morgal, very warm welcome to you for this inaugural session. With that, I hand over back to Reena. All the best.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing the highlights of the decade-long journey of India's Smart Grid Forum. Hope under your guidance and with support from all our members and partners, we are able to successfully complete another decade of supporting the transition of Indian power sector to a green and smarter systems. With that, we'd like to start our special addresses for the inaugural session today. May I invite Mr. Okay. So I think Sinha is in a hurry, so he has another meeting. So we'd like to invite Dr. Pravir Sinha. Can you have a slide, please? Yeah. So Mr. Pravir Sinha, he's the Managing Director for Tata Power Company Limited, CEO and Managing Director, and he of the India's largest power integrated company with a significant international presence. The company has its presence in all the segments of power sector, fuel, logistics, generation, transmission, distribution, and trading. It is one of the largest renewable energy companies in India and has developed the country's first 4,000 megawatt ultra mega power project in Mudra, Gujarat, based on supercritical technology. Mr. Sinha has nearly 34 years of experience in generation and distribution sector. He has been responsible for developing and setting up greenfield and brownfield power plants in India and abroad. And with that, I would like to invite Mr. Dr. Sinha to please give a special address for the DUM inaugural ceremony. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Reena, and thank you.
You're not audible, sir.
I'm not audible. Still not audible. Am I audible now, Reena?
Yes, sir. Now we can hear you.
Okay. So thank you, Reena, and thank you, ISGF and Reggie, for your invitation to participate in DUM 2021 event. This is the 5th annual conference, and I've been associated right from the first one. I've also been associated from the first ISGF Smart Grid conferences that have been taking place every year. And I must compliment ISGF for doing fantastic work. Both Reggie and Reena have done phenomenal work, and the team over there, the type of commitment that they have done, especially in bringing the smart grid technologies in India, and what is the technology globally, and how the tie-up and collaboration can happen between Indian utilities and the global utilities, and also the research center. So a phenomenal amount of work that has been done, and I'm sure that ISGF will continue the excellent work and keep on supporting the Indian utilities as well as other stakeholders, manufacturers, technology partners, technology suppliers who have been associated in this smart grid initiatives. So basically talking about the distribution sector, I think we have come a long distance since the time the whole smart grid discussion started nearly a decade back. There's whole amount of uh, distribution automation that has happened. There's whole amount of the integration of distribution system with the IT system, the ERP and the SAP and the other CRM solutions which have been brought about. And I'm sure there is great opportunity now to leverage it with smart metering solutions that will come. I have always believed that if a distribution sector has to improve, it needs to do the full 9 yards. That means starting from automation to the SCADA system to GIS, and then the integration with the IT system, the ERP, and the billing and consumer related services. And the whole benefit of it will only come if we have done all the components of the smart grid, and then only we will be able to get the real benefit of the smart grid implementation. In our country, we have a number of private utilities who have done exceedingly well, have adopted these technologies, and are now using it to a very, very large extent. But we also have many government utilities. In fact, 90% of the utilities are government owned. Some of them are still struggling, while some have implemented certain components of the smart grid technology. There is still a large number of utilities where the ERP implementation has not been done, the automation is not there, and whole lot of integration that is required has not been done. While they are going ahead with the roadmap to implement this smart metering, it is very important for them to also reflect and see that what more needs to be done, so that the benefit of smart metering in terms of consumption pattern and in terms of load forecasting, demand forecasting, and in terms of also availability and reliability of power can be improved. This is more true when we are now seeing that there is large scale of renewable energy that is coming up. The COP26 has thrown very many challenges, and it is a reality that renewable energy will play a very, very critical role. considering that renewable energy is still intermittent, whether it is solar or wind or even hybrid solutions, and storage still has to be implemented on full large scale. There is a necessity now that the distribution companies are able to manage their load and do a much better forecasting than what they were doing earlier. So we have a roadmap, we have a task before us, and the task is that how do we integrate the intermittent supply along with the conventional supply. And while the complexity of the grid will increase, it will also give us the opportunity to optimize it. And today, with the type of data analytics and the type of work that has been done in integrating some of these technologies along with the big data, I'm sure we'll be able to handle the grid in a much effective and a much smarter way. I have always supported ISGF initiatives because I personally feel that in India, our country definitely needs a large-scale distribution reforms. We're very good in generation capacity. Large capacities are there, leave alone some intermittent outliers that may happen. We have also very good transmission system, but our distribution system continues to bleed. And until and unless we make the distribution system financially robust, commercially robust, it will be very difficult for us to bring the full benefit of distribution reforms to the consumer. And I think the way the world is going and the way our country is going, the government is very clear that delicensing of distribution will happen. I hope it happens sooner than later. And that will also propel to bring competition, and the competition will bring better services to the consumer, both in terms of the cost of power as well as in terms of the services that can be provided to the distribution system in this country, who are uh, utilities, power utilities, who are supplying power to the consumer, to come up with much better and much smarter solutions for our consumer, and thereby empower our consumers to that extent. So my compliments to ISGF for arranging this utility meet. This is a very, very important meet because this is a platform in which we get an opportunity to come and discuss and learn from each other and share the best practices. I do hope the learning and the sharing that takes place in next 2 days will be useful for all the people who are participating in this event virtually this time, and hopefully from next year we'll have physical events to ensure that whatever is the learning, how it can be customized and used in their work area. So my best wishes to the organizers and to all the participants and who are part of the 2 day program and all the exhibitors. And I'm sure this will be a great learning for all of us going forward. So thank you, Dina, and thank you, ISGF.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sinha, for joining us today and for all the support you've been rendering to India Smart Grid Forum all throughout our journey. And we look forward to your support going forward as well. So thank you. And with that, we would like to move on to our next speaker, Mr. Ajay Kaul.
Thank you, Rina, and good morning, everyone. Absolute
if you
pleasure
give
to
me a
be.
minute, I'd like to introduce you to the audience.
Sure.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so Mr. Ajay Kaul heads the states and local government India business for Amazon Internet Services Private Limited. He is an accomplished leader with more than 2 decades of multifaceted experience in the IT industry. He played a pivotal role in technology adoption across public sector, education, healthcare domain, and provided strategic guidance to help customers achieve scalable, agile, secure, and highly optimized solutions. And with that, over to you, Mr. Kaul. And also would like to just emphasize here that we'd like to thank you and Amazon Web Services for joining DUM 2021 as powered by partner. Thank you so much for your support, and over to you for the special address.
Thank you once again, Reena, and absolute pleasure to be here this morning. Congratulations to ISGF for the fifth session on distribution utility meet. Hopefully the next one is going to be in person, so look forward to that. But talking about the power sector, from being a power deficit to getting to a power surplus, I think India, power sector has come a long way. And being the third largest producer of electricity in the world today, it is surely made huge inroads over the period of time. Not to speak about the challenges, yes, there are challenges, like the Dr. Sinha talked about the losses that the distribution sector is making, and so on and so forth. But there are areas that have been also got a lot of reforms, on the way. So today, I think the power sector reforms now focuses on 24/7 quality power to consumers, higher standards of service, promotion of renewable resources now, which is going to be catching up a big momentum, soon. Improve efficiency, cut losses, and especially in the distribution sector, these are going to be very, very pertinent areas. And reforms linked distribution schemes and changes in tariff policies are some of the measures which I'm sure are under consideration, and they will take shape as we move forward. Let me shift gears here a bit and provide insight about what's going on from a global standpoint. How are the global utilities, also taking shape? Because some of the countries in the world, which are the largest consumers and producers of electricity, have made some good inroads. And one of the reasons they have been able to do that is by virtue of digital transformation that they have been able to incorporate in various areas across the board. So I think today digital transformation plays a very, very crucial role as the platform for execution of business processes and the information base for decision making at operational and strategic levels. Some of the core functional areas, like where the digital transformation is going to play a major role, I think I've broadly classified them as 4 areas. The first being the consumer engagements. And during the pandemic times and post-pandemic times, we have seen the customer expectations have drastically changed. And over a period of time, the power and utility companies have sought to improve customer experience by evaluating some of the best practices, not only from the sector, but also from other sectors, right? So utilities and retail energy providers now offer consumers more choice, transparency around how they consume, how can they save and produce energy as well. For example, in some of the developed countries, data from connected homes is being used in applications that inform customers, of their consumption levels and provide guidance of controlling and managing energy use and spend. The recent industry emphasis on customer-centric data, such as billing data, outage information, demand response programs, net metering, and rate options, is also going to change the interactions between the utilities and the consumers. And there are going to be new revenue streams that are going to be evaluated in terms of how do the distributors, distribution, utilities create revenue streams because of the huge consumer data that is already available. And a lot of this can be done only by virtue of leveraging technologies like AI/ML. The next one that comes to my mind is the distributed energy resources, and we have seen a lot of change happening in this area, and the management and the renewable energy being looked at in multiple domains. The intermittent nature of renewable energy and the rise in electric vehicles will increase the need for greater visibility, predictability, and remote operational control of these assets. Access to almost a real-time data will set a whole lot of motion, which is based on a lot of sensors that are going to be deployed across the board, and a lot of data that gets accumulated, from those devices, for power utility teams to managing distributed energy resources and renewables in a lot more better structured way is going to be very, very crucial. Again, this is something that's going to be only possible by intervention of a whole lot of IoT based devices and the analytics tools that are going to make sense out of all the data that gets created. The third one, which is going to be extremely crucial, is going to be on the work and asset management. For all the power utility companies, the ability of workers to react to near real-time operational data remotely is going to be very, very critical and will represent an improved and strategic approach to work and asset management. For the assets themselves, operational data such as maintenance records, performance anomalies, equipment stock data is collected and analyzed by a whole lot of machine learning algorithms today. And it is targeted to ensure predictive, preventive, and prescriptive maintenance of utility assets. And we know this sector is extremely high on assets, and it needs a lot of capital to be able to not only provide the new resources, but even to manage the existing ones. Again, a whole lot of technology intervention can enable and ensure that whatever assets are already there are being taken care of as the new ones are getting added to it. The fourth one is going to be in virtue of energy management. Again, the organizations can gain a lot of actionable customer insights, which should be geared towards energy conservation and cost savings by using, MDMs, the meter data management, demand side management, and energy efficiency data, which is going to be coming up, by virtue of whole lot of equipments that are going to be unleashed, in near future. And these insights will help companies and their customers to reduce costs and improve sustainability. Now, all these four areas are the basic core tenets, where we can have a huge inroads by virtue of technology, by virtue of going digital, by virtue of bringing automation and reducing the manual interventions, right? And in each of these areas, AWS, has a big role to play. We empower utilities to improve reliability, customer satisfaction, and ensure that all the infrastructures that are required, all the IT systems that are required, are based on scalable and on-demand services that are being provided. Every utility is different. Every utility may have a different ecosystem, right? But to get them on a platform where they're able to leverage a whole lot of these services and whole lot of these technologies by virtue of AI/ML, IoT, blockchain-based interventions is going to be extremely crucial. And what that will do is that will help us to lower operational costs and safeguard critical infrastructure. So in essence, we enable business agility, equipping you to respond swiftly to market changes and emerging opportunities with innovative solutions. I'm sure the way smart meters, once they get deployed across the length and breadth of the country, a complete changeover is going to happen the way we are looking at the sector today. Likewise, with EVs getting a lot of push and momentum, it's going to be a humongous change, and we're going to see a whole new world, as we emerge from this year to next, and so on and so forth. But there's only one thing that's going to be common, which is going to cut across all these changes, all these reforms, and change that is going to be making this a lot more, beneficial, efficient, and may also help improving cost is by virtue of leveraging these technologies. So from that standpoint, it's absolute pleasure to be here today with like-minded people who are part of this industry and who kind of live and see this changes and reforms being taking place every day. I would urge, if there are opportunities and discussions that we can have, which are more specific to your specific entities, organizations, we'll be more than happy. Our teams will be more than happy to engage further. But we are making a whole lot of inroads globally, as well as in India as we speak, because post-pandemic, I think the reality of customers and utilities and distribution utilities embracing technology is a lot more better. With that, I would urge all of us to kind of bring up the learnings that we may have, and what better forum it could be than the DUM forum that we are today, to exchange ideas, to look at opportunities by virtue of which we can help each other and make a lot more better environment as we move forward. And I really wish all the good luck moving forward to the distribution utility companies, because there are going to be humongous amount of changes and reforms taking place, and with a whole lot of security being paramount. We have seen some instances of security breach also somewhere, in terms of where the data tightness or the rollout of security parameters might have been, compromised. I think we are again geared up to ensure that from all the standpoints of regulatory, compliance, security, all perspectives, things are completely taken care of. So with that, I would like to end my today's session, and all the best to ISGF and DUM, and look forward to an in-person meeting next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kaul, for this insightful speech, and we look forward to participation of other experts from Amazon Web Services in the following sessions. So thank you, and with that, we would like to now invite Mr. Manu Morgal for a special address, and let me have the introduction slide to quickly introduce him. So Mr. Manu Morgal is the Director for Clean Power Program, Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation. His key expertise is in activating clean energy transition through public-private partnerships, having conceptualized high-impact national initiatives on lighting, smart meters, and electric vehicles. He brings a strong background in carbon markets. Prior to SSEF, he worked as program advisor with GIZ, working closely with the Bureau of Energy Efficiency Services Limited. So with that, I welcome Mr. Morgal to please present a special address for today's inaugural session. Over to you.
Thank you, Reena ji, and a very good morning to everyone, co-panelists as well as participants. I represent Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation. Shakti essentially works towards deploying philanthropic resources towards the larger shift and translation of policy to practice. And we are deeply interested in the push towards the green power uptake in the near future, especially given the context of the Honorable Prime Minister. Recently, he has made a pledge at the COP26, wherein he has proposed to put in 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel power by the year 2030. I think while at this level, at one level, this is very, very optimistic, yet at another, this is also offering a whole host of opportunities for all of us to act on. And I think if America had its moonshot moment with the launch of Apollo and the plan to put the man on the moon, I think in a sense, putting in the next 400 gigawatts of renewable energies by the year 2030 represent exactly that for India's power sector. Just to put things in perspective, I personally feel that whatever we have achieved over the last 75 years, we actually aim to literally, I would say, double of that we plan to put in the next 9 years. Now, if that is not a moonshot idea or ambition, what else would it be? Nevertheless, I think we need to sort of ensure that we are able to give wings to this ambition as well as the plan. I think the tools are in place. Mr. Pillai in his initial talk also spoke about ensuring that the intellectual capital and the expertise is now certainly available in the country. We can certainly do it. Dr. Praveer Sinha did mention that a lot of execution work has also sort of been laid out over the last 20 years of reforms which have taken place in the power sector. And we need to now build upon this very strong foundation to take it forward. Now, the question is, what exactly would it take to ensure that while we are embarking on this reform process and the overall change, we are also able to develop and ensure that the delivery of our developmental goals also takes place simultaneously. One thing is for sure that the distribution sector is going to be very, very crucial as we embark upon this change. My predecessors just spoke about the fact that we need to ensure the financial robustness of the system. I think the policymakers are cognizant of this. So are, I would say, the practitioners. Yet, a lot more needs to be done. We need to bring in new financial actors. I think the plan at the national level of creating a national pipeline of monetization, I think, could be a game changer if sort of accessed by the distribution companies. We as Shakti are certainly trying to sort of put look at a lens of maybe a programmatic approach or a programmatic push at the larger level, which can enable this so as to ensure that the public sector distribution companies, they can gain the full benefits of the initiatives they have embarked on the last 20 years, and yet they have the capital resources to invest for the new changes and the reforms which are required. Secondly, I think there is a whole host of capacity upgradation required as far as I would say addressing your maybe MBC needs go, maybe ensuring that accurate demand load forecasting and roadmaps and such kind of planning works go within the distribution companies. And that's where we need to strengthen the data and analytics available with the distribution companies. While at one level we have the national smart meter movement already laying down the hardware and the basic pipeline of change, I think we need to also simultaneously now start working on putting in the digital tools in the hands of the distribution companies so they can start making use of such digitized platforms. And I think this is where we need to act in and bring in new actors. I think the step by AWS in thinking towards this is a step in the right direction. We need to also bring in new, I would say, IT entrants. I mean, Oracles and others are certainly there. But I think from a policymaker's perspective, I will suggest that somebody like an NSDL can probably sort of create an open source platform, which might be more useful, at least for the public sector DISCOMs, in terms of creating the right set of modules. I think while we continue to think big, we need to also keep an eye on the various intellectual capitals already developed. For example, the Forum of Regulators has come out with these very, I would say, well thought out, well researched blueprints of change, the likes of Santulan, Samast, and others. And I think this is the right and we need to sort of start working on those. It actually means that we need to sort of literally sort of dirty our hands, roll up our sleeves, and get down to getting the things executed. But this is exactly the moment is the requirement is execution. And we at Shakti again are very cognizant and are willing to be active participants with states who are willing to sort of embark on this journey of enabling such kind of blueprints. Thirdly, I think while we continue to think big and we have the intellectual capital, yet at some level, with all this big transition shaping up, there's always this sense that we can be in a position to be overwhelmed by all of it. And I think as decision makers at the policy level, at the state, at the center, I think one of the key problems is that given the kind of exponential rate at which technology is changing, I think one's own ability to sort of appreciate and which technology to bet on, especially from a policymaker's perspective and adoption, I think is a key critical challenge. And I think we need to build in the right capacity knowledge tools which allow a decision maker to take the appropriate decisions at the right juncture. I think this is where I would say we have state level currently so-called excellence centers for delivering capacity. Some of these could probably be adopted, maybe under the RDSS scheme, wherein we are offering, I would say, some sort of intellectual capital available towards this. Maybe Shakti and maybe others can sort of co-fund this further, but some of these excellence centers could be ramped up to bring in, I would say, international thinking, especially I would say for decision makers. A program like that, raising awareness and probably building in the right decision support mechanisms can really play a long way. So with this, I will sort of rest my talk, and all compliments to ISGF and the other organizers in terms of the deliberations. We look forward to gaining some new ideas and a fresh thought process to embark upon the ambition put out by the Honorable Prime Minister. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Morgal, for the speech and joining us today for the inaugural session of Distribution Utility Meet. And thank you to Shakti Sustainable Energy Foundation for supporting India Smart Grid Forum's research initiatives and innovative projects that we have been doing for different utilities and states in India. So with that, I would like to now invite Mr. Kamal Sinha for... Okay, I'm so sorry. Mr. Banerjee has requested to go first because he needs to urgently leave for another engagement. I would like to invite Mr. Debashish Banerjee, Managing Director, CSE Kolkata. He's an electrical engineer with proficiency in business management, having rich and diverse industry experience. He has started his career from Arriva and moved on to Crompton Greaves and Schneider Electric, heading business operations in utilities, industry, and dealer domain. So with that, over to you, Mr. Banerjee, for a special address for the inaugural session.
Yeah, very good morning to all of you. And thank you very much, Reena, for the introduction. I've been associated with ISGF for a long time, previously in my capacity from Mumbai and now from Calcutta. And yes, ISGF does need all those appreciation for the great work it has been doing, especially in the evolving trends and disruptions which are coming up in this sector. So as India, strives to be a $5 trillion economy by 2024 and 25, power and electricity per se is going to play a great role, because it is said that in one of the studies that every 1% increase in electricity consumption boosts the real GDP by about 1.72%. Now, if we look at the achievements of the country, yes, we have moved a lot in this journey, and from a power shortage to a power surplus country. The installed capacity and now has over a quarter of the renewable generation coming in a total capacity of about 390 gigawatts. The renewable is about just over 100 gigawatt. And we are aiming to achieve about 450 gigawatt of RE capacity by 2030. So in this phase, India has done about 99.99% electrification of the household, and the per capita consumption has gone up from 465 kilowatt hour in 1997 to about 1208 kWh in 2020. Now, what happens that more and more growth and more urbanization calls for more and more use of electricity. So we are now synchronized with one nation, one grid, and one frequency principle, which is the overarching factor. And today we are the cusp of inflection in terms of that. If I may call it, that it is utility 3.0. We are thinking of maybe utility 1, if we can state as the unbundled time, utility 2.0, where bundled time, utility 1.0 is bundled, utility 2.0 where GTD was unbundled and generation was delicensed, and the Electricity Act amendment came in 2003. So we are now, or the DISCOMs or the distribution companies are having a traditional shift, and it may go forward with a business that only sells kWh to a business that sells user experience, with more and more electric devices and assets leveraging digitalization will transform the commodity supplier to being a customer aggregator or customer integrator. If I look at the mega trends which are impacting this segment, I would call it the 5 Ds. The first D is the digitalization, followed by deregulation, decarbonization, decentralization, and disaster management. Now, if I start with digitalization, which is the biggest disruptor, digitalization and technology taken together, it has actually changed the profile of the distribution companies and the way we distribute power to our consumers. In a sense, coming up right from the predictive maintenance and conditioning monitoring, it has come up to the sensor-based IoT Industry 4.0 technology. So whether it is a drone which monitors and does thermal imaging of the transmission towers or outdoor yards, or it's a pan-tilt camera which does it, or the IoT-based sensors which are embedded in the various, the electric network infrastructures like water level, humidity, temperature, etc. These all stream real-time data onto the system, and in the head-end system there is a data analytics which goes on. So it is a predictive maintenance where the distribution company comes to know what is going to happen. If we're going to fail, we better act to it before, so that we keep our assets in the best of health. And whenever I talk about all these technologies, we at CSC are doing each of them, and that's what I'm taking up. Then comes the immersive technologies. Immersive technologies like extended reality has been implemented for remote troubleshooting and for training on the protection system, thus enhancing the restoration as well as the training safety aspect to training. The mixed reality has come up where and the digital twins have come up where what can happen is that we can make maybe the relay which has tripped due to some fault at the remote place and maybe at the end of the night somewhere. We can assess that on our mobile phones, and we can look at what has happened and do the necessary setting and resetting and turn on the power. And that is a great job which can be done remotely. With this all makes decision making coming to the edge, with the workforce being more empowered, and the company becoming more agile in delivering the higher and higher expectations of the customers. Now, coming to the customer services, which we have felt more and more, the digital services during the pandemic has really, helped the consumers and the distribution companies to interact with each other. So if I call it a high touch customer experience for a no touch world, where we were saying during the pandemic, and obviously which is ongoing, that the customer need not come up to the offices of the distribution company. They can assess all our services digitally on through the platforms, and these platforms are the platforms of the chatbot, which was previously chatbot, now WhatsApp bot, and maybe going towards voice bot. These all digital platforms are so very well used by the customers for the other services that they feel easy that they can access our services from at their fingertips, from the safety of their homes and offices. And all the AI ML enabled WhatsApp bot makes the experience, learning experience better and better, and it helps both the consumers and the distribution companies. The next part I would talk is on data analytics. Data analytics is really creating the potential to further enhance operational efficiency and giving a better customer service at an optimized cost to serve. So, we have been developing and working on this. This is a journey. This is not a destination. But we have been doing AI ML analytics on cable fault, HT cable fault prediction, for understanding if there are any low voltage areas which is surrounding there, water on power transformer health indexing, and also for the sentiment analysis of the consumers to have a better understanding of them through the social media and through the other media that they interact with us. Now, if we look at when we make as we go forward, how do we make our utility a little more, automated? One is the process automation. There could be many processes which are manual, and those processes we have tried out to shift to process automation. In fact, robotic process automation. And through that, we are trying our new connection to be, done through that on the manual part of that. and slowly expanding to the other areas. So that was RPAs. And going forward in the field, it is workforce automation. When the workforce gets everything on their mobile app, and then they attend a customer call through the GPNS enabled crew, and they get their customer services done, and put it right on his mobile phone, update on mobile phone. But all this obviously brings in a vulnerability in terms of cyber security. Actually, every DISCOM and we ourselves also are creating out audit of our generation and transmission system to mitigate the critical infrastructure risk in critical infrastructure in connection to cyber threats, and ring fencing our power systems through various processes, including firewalls, etc. The second D is the deregulation, which is poised to come up anytime. And this deregulation will usher in competition. And the otherwise monopoly business they would be opened up to competition, and the consumers will get more and more chance to have better services at an optimized cost. There are private utilities which are working across the nation in the metropolis and in other places, and they have been able to achieve good amount of operational efficiencies, minimal T&D losses, and deployment of cutting edge technologies, and these all would help them spread the knowledge or spread the application to other areas which are going to be privatized in the future, so that the customer gets a better experience, better service. Or the smart meter is going to be, the AMI is going to be a major, the upgradation of the AMI or the scalable of AMI is going to actually, change the way we do business. But we would like to state that if we need to take a better, leverage of this AMI, and especially from the consumer standpoint of view, I think they should be incentivized with a time of use tariff, including the residents and consumers, because that would incentivize them to use various home automation, etc., and shift their peak load to the off-peak periods, which would in turn help the distribution companies flatten their peak and reduce the gap between the peak load and the average load, and thus optimize on their capex. Now, coming to the next part of the Ds, the mega trend Ds, decarbonization and decentralization is happening, and the whole world veers towards net zero. Climate change is the thing which is the transforming part which is happening, and which has been more and more reinforced at the COP26 set in Glasgow, where India has pledged to be net zero by 2070. So in this, we understand with this coming up, mode of decarbonization and then net zero climate changes to combat climate changes. 5 major groups of technologies would attract $1 trillion of investments. They would be in the electrification part and the power part of the grid. So more and more battery control software, efficient building systems, and industrial agriculture would come in, other than use of hydrogen and carbon capture technologies. We, like all other utilities, have embarked on a journey to be a more sustainable utility, and in that, so we have created hashtag Live Free, Breathe Free, where we are priming the electric vehicle systems by working towards ensuring that how we create the infrastructure for providing electric vehicle charging, and Calcutta is doing great in terms of that. We are also migrating our fleet and testing it from the conventional vehicles to electric vehicles, especially the e-bikes and the four-wheelers. We are also working towards electric cooking, transforming the electric cooking to do a positive impact on that. So with this, we are working on microgrids like every other distribution company, and also implementing battery storage at a smaller level, and have done it at a smaller level, so that more and more we can get improve the voltage profile, reduce the frequency improve the frequency management, And as the more and more renewable power comes up, how we can have the agility to integrate our system with this renewable system. We are thinking of, we are planning to going up a grid scale storage. And in this factor, let me tell you that we are also trying out a POC on a blockchain technology, on a peer-to-peer trading, where there would be prosumers, users, and they will be having various sources of power from various maybe solar rooftops, maybe storage, etc. How can we build a platform for them, so that we elevate ourselves from plain vanilla distribution utility to being a system aggregator.
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Banerjee. Mr. Kapoor is also waiting to go
I've done it. We are,
meeting. So
I'm just coming to the end. There's the last part. Give me 2 minutes. And finally, the disaster management, which is now hitting everybody around in the climate changes. More and more disaster management is happening. So we, like every other year, we are working to improve our forecasting models and the network resilience, so that we will see that how our outage does not happen and our consumers don't get interrupted. That was all what I wanted to share with you. And thank you for providing me this opportunity once again in this August platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Banerjee, and sorry to interrupt you in between. It's just that I think we are running a bit late, and our chief guest for today, Mr. Vishal Kapoor, has another meeting to catch up, so we would like to invite him. And big apologies to Mr. Kamal Sinha for delaying your special address. We will have you as our last and final speaker. I hope you will have time, and you please stay with us. So with that, I would like to invite our special guest for today for inaugurating the Distribution Utility Meet 2021, Mr. Vishal Kapoor, Joint Secretary Distribution, Ministry of Power, Government of India. And Mr. Kapoor holds a mechanical engineering degree from IRIMEE Jamalpur, and also a Masters of Public Administration from Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy. And he has previously worked with Ministry of Railways, and currently he is the Joint Secretary Distribution in Ministry of Power. So with that, I would like to invite Mr. Kapoor to please deliver our inaugural address for DUM 2021.
Thank you, Reena, and good morning to everyone. At the outset, I would take this opportunity to commend the contribution made by the power sector, especially by our people from the distribution utilities in supporting the vital services by maintaining continuous power supply even in the unprecedented situation arising out of COVID-19 pandemic. The whole world has adapted to COVID challenges, and I can see that DOM has also adapted. We are seeing the DOM now being held online, and compliments to ISGF and the whole DOM team for adapting and continuing this dialogue process. Power sector, and particularly the electricity distribution in the country, has seen a tremendous growth during the past few years, and all-out efforts have been made to ensure electricity access to not only village and habitation, but also to all the willing households. However, that said, financial health of distribution utilities has become a matter of concern and has adversely been affecting some of their operational efficiencies and ultimately their ability to provide 24/7 uninterrupted quality and power supply to consumers. This has also been flagged by several of the speakers who spoke before me. Financial sustainability, as we know, is the greatest challenge of the most of the state-owned DISCOMs, as they continue to post significant financial losses and that to a varying degree. There has been an increasing trend in DISCOM dues towards GENCOs, and this is one of the major telltale signs of this problem. Outstanding dues currently stand at somewhere around 98,518 crores at the end of October 21. The major reason that we believe that the DISCOMs are not able to meet their costs through revenues include operational efficiencies in metering, billing collection, theft prevention, leading to high AT&C losses. That is one part of the story. Tariffs not being reflective of the costs, that is another part. And the third is, which is causing a significant problem, especially in the cash flows, is the mismatch between the payments and receivables. Receivables are also on the increase, and even though and the payables also. Receivables, a major chunk of which is coming from non-payment of dues by the government departments and delayed payments of subsidies and shortfall of subsidies by the state governments. As a result, what we have seen at the end of 2020 is AT&C losses, even though they have been coming down progressively from levels of around 36% in the year 2001 to almost around 20.9% in end of 2020, but still it is appreciably higher even compared to countries like Bangladesh, which have I think levels down to around 12% today. The ACS ARR gaps have slightly improved over the years, and over the last 1 year, in fact, from 1819 to 1920, it has come down to 60 paisa. It was much higher earlier in 1819, which was one of the worst years in terms of the national aggregate performances. History tells us that adversity brings about major changes and reforms on which, and probably we are facing one of those epoch-making events right now. The government has been working on a three-pronged approach. Just a second. The thing is that the three-pronged approach we are following. Number one is achieving real decoupling between the state finances and the DISCOM finances, addressing the regulatory ecosystem, and last but not the least, the operational and financial efficiency of DISCOMs, which definitely needs improvement. We've taken several initiatives in this regard. One was a liquidity infusion scheme that was to address the cash flow issues that had arisen around the COVID times. But in response to that, we have sanctioned almost 1,35,000 crore of loans, long-term transition loans, against which we are seeking the DISCOMs to bring certain reforms. Then another major things that has been recently launched by the Ministry of Finance in consultation with the Ministry of Power is the additional borrowing space of 0.5% of GSDP to the states linked to power sector reforms. There are several reform measures that the DISCOMs, if they take, the states will be able to get 0.5% of additional borrowing of their state GSDPs. The reforms are generally across all the interventions, across almost the same, which centered around government payments, subsidies to be pulled up, reduction of AT&C losses, ACS ARR gaps, energy accounting, metering, and these kind of measures. In fact, in additional borrowing, the scheme, I think some bonus marks have also been provided for public-private participation. One of the major interventions from the Ministry of Power has been the Revamped distribution sector scheme. This scheme was launched recently, about 4-5 months back, at an overall outlay of 3,03,000 crores and an estimate gross budgetary support of 97,000 crores. One of the major objectives is reduction of AT&C losses to levels of 12 to 15%. And the other one is to eliminate the ACS ARR gaps. This scheme is linked to reforms and achievement of results. So as opposed to the earlier infrastructure creation schemes, this scheme differs in a major way that the grants from the government will be only linked to the achievement of results. If the results are achieved, then the payouts go out. Otherwise, there are no payouts. But at the same time, 50% of the scheme also is focused towards installation of smart meterings and a rollout across the country. What we envisage is that by December 2025, we should be able to cover 25 crore consumers. But in the initial phase, major cities, Amrut cities, all government departments, rural areas more than 25% AT&C losses, urban areas more than 15% losses. We have prioritized that almost 10 crore consumers will get these connections, these smart meter connections, by the end of December 2023. To facilitate the states and DISCOMs plan switch over to the switch over of their consumers to smart metering, standard bidding documents have been finalized after extensive stakeholder consultations. It has also been decided to leverage design, build, finance, own, operate, and transfer DB foot model of public-private partnerships. This will mitigate the problem of arranging outright capex for installation of monetarily sensitive smart metering, intensive smart metering solutions by crowding in private investments. It also includes technology-based payments, security mechanisms to provide comfort to the private investment. One of the other major things is that the lending to the DISCOMs against the payables and their payables or against regulatory assets, as several kind of non-capex loans have been going into the system, even in some ways probably also for loss financing, or there are in some way or the other. We need to constrain that because availability of easy credit has been identified as one of the reasons why things are probably not improving. PFC and REC approximately cover almost 50% of the power sector loans, and recently both the companies have come out with additional prudential norms, which are basically revolving around the same set of basic reforms in regard to government payments, fiscal discipline, state government dues, AT&C, SES, ARR gaps, tariff filing, and unless and until the states have or the DISCOMs have made all efforts and they meet these requirements, funds from PFC and REC would not be available. And we are very hopeful that shortly all the other banks and financial institutions shall also be adopting these norms progressively. One of the other things that we have been doing, and that is from the input side, is the formulation of model corporate governance guidelines. I mentioned earlier that separation of the finances, real separation of finances between the states and the DISCOMs is considered to be one of the major initiatives. Corporate governance guidelines have been issued recently to all DISCOMs to ensure both the financial as well as administrative separation on the ground between the DISCOMs and the states. As an intervention on the right to consumers, I mean, because consumer centricity has to be increasingly gaining importance going forward, and that's why in December 2020, right to consumers electricity 2020 rules were issued. This will basically be forming a basis for all the standards of performance of DISCOMs going forward. Another thing is that I mentioned about the AT&C losses. We are losing almost around 21% of energy unbilled and unaccounted for energy into their systems. But countries like Bangladesh have really made wonderful efforts, and they're down to around 12%. Even all the neighborhood of India is doing very well on this count, and there's no reason why we should not be able to emulate them. Energy accounting is one of the major initiatives, and recently the BE has come out with energy accounting regulations, which lay specific emphasis not only on energy audit but on energy accounting. It has several interventions: 3 monthly energy accounting, followed up by 1 yearly this thing and 1 yearly audit. Beyond that, we are also looking at not only the overall perspective of energy accounting, but how it will be done. Right now, we start off with the energy accounting. in wherever possible through human means, but the major aim is to switch over to a completely humanless energy accounting, machine to machine accounting. Some Central Electricity Authority has also come out with certain regulations supporting the prepaid smart metering. In fact, you might be aware that we were assessing DISCOMs through integrated ratings being done by PFC. The integrated ratings basically revolve around the financial and operational aspects of the DISCOMs. But we are now shortly going to come out with the first such consumer service rating of DISCOMs, probably in the next month or so, which will basically address and ascertain the performance of DISCOMs in terms of quality and reliability of electricity supply, consumer services, and track the performance of DISCOMs on these aspects over a period of time. This will be an yearly activity. Last but not the least, the government of India has also taken initiatives to privatize its electricity distribution in the union territories. A lot of progress has already happened on the process. Needless to say, improvement in efficiencies of DISCOMs would also ease the pressure on tariffs as well as on the public exchequer. At the end, I would like to compliment ISGF and the team DUM for continuing this activity, this dialogue process. We would also appreciate if the proceedings of the deliberations and major outcomes and ideas can be sent to the ministry after the proceedings are over, because these ideas, the generated ideas out of the industry and out of the DISCOMs, they are the ones that we pick up and look at putting into our interventions. Thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kapoor, for joining us today and inaugurating the DUM Distribution Utility Meet 2021 and being with us and supporting India's smart grid initiatives in the sector. So thank you so much. And with that, we would like to now invite our last speaker for today's inaugural session, Mr. Kamal Sinha. Apologies for delaying your speech. But thank you for your patience and being with us. Mr. Sinha is the Executive Director, VRPL and BYPL. He's a graduate of Delhi's prestigious SRCC. And Mr. Sinha is a chartered and cost accountant with more than 25 years of rich experience under his belt. His deep understanding transcends manufacturing and service sectors with expertise in areas like corporate finance, strategy planning, budgetary and financial control, audits of various kinds, regulatory affairs, Indian accounting standards, and power distribution. With that brief introduction, I would like to now invite Mr. Sinha for a special address. Over to you, Mr. Sinha.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Reena, and the ISGF team, Mr. Reggie, for giving us an opportunity and this platform for the distribution utility meet. I think we had eminent speakers before me, and we have covered most of the issues and challenges of the sector. But just to sum it up, I have been in the sector for the last 15 years. Actually, after the Electricity Act in 2003, it's now 18 years. So I have been a part of the reform and transformation in the last particularly 15 years, which I have seen. I just want to brief the members and the participants my understanding and how I see the sector going forward. After the Electricity Amendment Act in 2003, the focus was more on the unbundling of the sector in terms of generation, transmission, and distribution. And of course, a regulatory framework was defined at that point of time. The focus was more on generation and distribution, but over time, the challenges of the distribution has been highlighted, and the key challenges which has been in larger discussion was for AT&C losses, to reduce the AT&C's losses and bring it to a reasonable level. The government, particularly the central government, provided various schemes, whether it is RAP, DRP or Uday, and now the liquidity injection package, so that the AT&C losses can be controlled, the meter to cash cycle can be improved, more of automation can be brought, and the network can be strengthened. A lot of regulation came from the Central Electricity Regulatory Authority and the state regulators in order to bring discipline into the distribution space. But what is more interesting and exciting is to see that what has happened, particularly in the last 5-6 years. The first thing which comes to my mind is the promotion of renewables through a national mission. Initially, we talked about 175 gigawatt up to 2022, which looks very much achievable now. At that point of time, 4-5 years back, it was something which was not believed that we can achieve it. Now we are talking about initially 450, now 500 megawatt by 2030. The institution of provision like RPO was something which was also a very good thought, because RPO targets were given to various states and distribution companies. And this was kind of a mandatory and statutory provision, so that you are enforced to go into the
No way,
renewable
you
mode.
can't have that clap. No way.
So
You can't have such
now
clap. It's like firing.
I think Reggie, your mic is on.
Sorry.
Now with the renewable focus, particularly, we have seen in the last few years how the rates have consolidated and has gone down, particularly in solar, wind, and now we are quite looking forward how this renewable will become a firm power along with battery storage coming in, or and the rates going down. So I think the things which have happened in the last 5-6 years, particularly in the renewable sector, gives confidence to us as a distribution operator. Recent changes in the power markets, the dynamics of market exchange, the introduction of the green market is something which is also very commendable. All these things are coming at a very fast space. For any distribution company, it is a challenge to adapt to these changes, because most of the distribution company have been working in a very conventional way in all, over the last so many years. So some of these changes which has come, and much more to come in the new, transformation journey, is a real challenge for all of us who are operating in the system. Whether we talk about the smart metering leading to smart homes, we are talking about digitization, application of artificial intelligence. Now we are talking about electric vehicles. We are talking about consumer empowerment, service level quality to be improved. So essentially, the message is very clear to us and all the stakeholders, that there is a seriousness, there is a national mission, there is a national push. The recent announcement by the Honorable Power Minister gives us a lot of importance to the revolutionary changes which are happening in and which we are witnessing in the distribution space. So I think the distribution companies really needs to gear up, and in a much greater way than what we have been doing in the past. There are a lot of opportunities. There are challenges also, but the opportunities are much bigger, and this is all in the interest of the consumers, because we wanted to give a better quality, reliable quality and power, reliability and power quality to our power which we supply. We wanted to ensure that the environment is clean. So these are all very, very positive things which are happening. And some of the things which are expected in the Electricity Amendment Act, which would be another major reform which will be happening in the coming months and years, would be the opening of the sector. And of course, that will bring in more competition.
and competition will bring in more efficiency across the value chain. There are also provision for improvement in the regulatory framework in which we operate. We all are regulated entities, so the strength of the regulatory process and the robustness of the system is very, very important. And I think the new Amendment Act is very much taking care of that. One thing which which is something very important for us as a distribution operator is the capacity building or the manpower strengthening for the sector with the introduction of various things which are coming in the years to come. We really need to attract good talent, good manpower for the sector, and make it more and more competitive. So we need to take a lot of steps in terms of capacity building and resource development and attracting good talent for the sector, which I think I'm quite sure the government at their level and at DISCOM at the operating level are taking care of. So all to essentially to sum up, it's I think the power sector is going through a major transformation. It's a revolutionary in nature. I think it will be much bigger than what we have seen in the telecom sector, some decades back. And this will be bringing in a great opportunity for us to give best-in-class service to our consumers. As a DISCOM, private DISCOM, BSES has been taking all possible steps to lead these initiatives in our own area, whether it is the introduction of the rooftop solar or it is the integration of the renewable resources in our power portfolio. We are at much advanced stage of performance and integration. We are also in Delhi, one of the lead DISCOMs who are working for the electric vehicle home charging facility and creating infrastructure for that. Beside this, we are also taking up various steps for bringing in better consumer awareness and better quality service. So with these words, I wanted to sum up, and finally, I wish to thank ISGF again for organizing this, giving us an opportunity. I think in days and months to come, much more of these programs needs to be organized, which should be more focused on the various challenges of the sectors and opportunities. Lot more training programs, lot more capacity building initiatives are required, and I'm quite sure, confident that with the support and initiative of ISGF, this would be an important contributor into the whole, transformation agenda which we have. Thank you, Reni and Rina, and thank you, Reggie, for organizing this ISGF meet.
Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful speech and for being with us for the inaugural session of Distribution Utility Meet 2021. With that, we come to an end of this session, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank each and every dignitary who has joined us and supported Distribution Utility Meet 2021 and ISGF in all our initiatives and for this program. So big thank you. And with that, we will move quickly. Before we move on to our first session of DAM 2021, we will just have a couple of announcements, 2 minutes more. And I thank all these speakers for the next sessions for their patience, and apologies for the delay in start of the session. And let me take a couple of minutes for announcing things. So with that, the inauguration of exhibition that has been organized at past part of DAM 2021, we welcome our exhibition partners, BSES Rajdhani Power Limited, BSES Yamuna Power Limited, Tata Power Delhi Distribution, Tata Power Mumbai, Amazon Web Services, DISCOM, and India Smart Grid Forum are there in the exhibition area. Please take time to visit the exhibition booths and meet the partner officials. So BSES Rajdhani, BSS Yamuna is there exhibiting with us. Tata Power Delhi Distribution Limited, Tata Power Company Mumbai is exhibiting. Bangalore Electricity Supply Company Limited are exhibiting, and there is a booth for India Smart Grid Forum as well. So please take time and visit us. And we'd like to release a white paper which India Smart Grid Forum, in association with Amazon Web Services, has put together. The link will be available on our website and social media. Please put your hands together for the launch of the white paper on cloud adoption to electricity transformation utilities, which we have jointly put together. So thank you.